I needed to hear these words this morning from the Gospel of John that reminds me that even those who die will rise with the Lord. It's been a tough week for me. As many of you know, a dear friend of mine, Father Jay, passed away suddenly last Saturday evening. Jay and I were in the seminary together. I entered in 1964, and Jay entered 2 years later in 1966. So we've known each other for all these years. And being the only two African-American priests in the diocese, our bond was especially close. And so it's been hard, especially on the heels of another dear friend, Father Paul Minahan, dying, and then my mentor, Father Dan, dying, and Brian Joyce dying, and Pat Goodwin dying. We've lost 5 priests in 2 months, 5 very good priests in 2 months. My heart is heavy. And yet, I do believe. So, this morning I was thinking, what was the great gift of Father Jay? And there were many gifts that Jay had. But one of the gifts was that he inspired people to be their better selves. He inspired people to think not only for themselves, but to reach out and be compassionate and caring and helpful towards others. And as I was thinking about that, I thought, well, you know, that's in alignment with what we've been talking about for the last 5 weeks. Those of us who have been involved in small faith-sharing groups, we've been asked to reflect on how we can help without hurting. And where we are now, for those of you who are not following, who are not part of the small faith-sharing group, again, I remind you to take a bulletin home because there's an insert there. And in that insert, it invites you to reflect on what the small groups are reflecting on. And this week, the reflection is on how we can inspire others, inspire ourselves, and then inspire others to help make changes that are good. Because there are some things that we can do alone. There were some things that Father Jay could do by himself. But there are other things that are so big, so needed, that the community needs to do it. It cannot be done by individuals. It has to be done by a community. And that's who we are. And that's what we're about. So I thought of Jay, and I thought of how we can help without hurting. And then my heart was lightened a bit when I thought of Anne-Marie and Allison, 2 of our sisters who are going to become full members of our Catholic tradition at the Easter Vigil. And I'm sure, I don't know your stories, but I'm sure there were probably an individual or 2 that inspired you to come and see. There was something that you saw that made you decide, let me check it out. Let me see what Corpus Christi has to offer, what the Catholic Church has to offer. But it wasn't those individuals that kept you coming back. If we had a chance to talk, I'm sure you would say it was a community you found here. Sure. Anne and Catherine and Robert and Kira and Donna. Nat, I'm sure that they helped you, inspired you. But I'd like to believe that knowing that the rest of these folks seated around you, praying for you, I'd like to believe that they made a difference too. Because you see, my brothers and sisters, there's only so much we can do as individuals. The real power that we have, that our Lord came to give us, really rests in what we do communally. Yes, we need to act individually, but we also need to act as a community. And when we act as a community, we can bring about change. And that's what our Lord came into the world to do, is to bring about positive change. So I'm going to invite my two sisters to come forward together with Anne, who is the director of the Rite of Christian Initiation for Adults. And as Anne-Marie and Allison scrutinize their lives, reflect on their lives, I invite you to reflect on your lives. As we continue to pray for them, I invite you to pray for yourselves, for all of us.